Your life savings, gone. Your job, vanished. Your house, worthless. This isn't a horror movie. This is what happens during financial crises, and it's happened 7 times in the last 400 years. But here's the scary part. Every single crisis follows the exact same pattern. And once you see this pattern, you'll realize the next crisis is already building right now. Let me show you every major financial crisis in history and the terrifying 4-step formula that destroys millions of people every single time. The Tulip Mania, 1637. Meet Jan, a Dutch merchant in 1636. Jan hears his neighbor made a fortune buying tulip bulbs. Not tulips, just the bulbs. Jan thinks this sounds crazy, but then he sees the prices. A single tulip bulb costs more than a house. Jan doesn't want to miss out. He sells his bakery and buys tulip bulbs. His friends think he's insane, but Jan is making money fast. In 6 months, his tulip collection is worth 10 times what he paid. Then, February 1637 happens. Someone tries to sell tulip bulbs at the usual inflated price. Nobody buys. Panic spreads. Within days, tulip bulbs become worthless. Jan lost everything chasing flowers. This was the first recorded speculative bubble. People bought tulips, not because they loved flowers, but because they thought someone else would pay more. When that stopped happening, the whole thing collapsed. The South Sea Bubble, 1720. Meet William, a London gentleman in 1720. The South Sea Company promises massive profits from trade with South America. The stock price keeps rising. Even Isaac Newton invests his life savings. William borrows money to buy more shares. The stock goes from £100 to £1,000. William feels like a genius. He's making more money in the stock market than from his actual job. But the South Sea Company barely trades with South America. They're just selling shares to buy more shares. It's a pyramid scheme disguised as a business. When people realize this, the stock crashes from £1,000 to £100 in 6 months. William loses everything. So does Isaac Newton, who famously said, "I can calculate the motion of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people." Even geniuses fall for bubbles. The Great Depression, 1929. Meet Frank, a factory worker in 1928. Everyone's getting rich in the stock market. Frank's barber gives him stock tips. His taxi driver owns shares. Frank thinks, if everyone's making money, I should too. Frank borrows money to buy stocks. He's using something called buying on margin. He puts down $10 and borrows $90 to buy $100 worth of stock. If the stock goes up 10%, Frank doubles his money. It's like magic. The stock market keeps rising. Frank keeps borrowing more money to buy more stocks. By 1929, Frank owns $10,000 worth of stocks, but only put down $1,000 of his own money. Then, October 24th, 1929 happens. Black Thursday, stock prices start falling. Frank gets a margin call. He needs to pay back the money he borrowed, but his stocks are worth less than what he owes. Frank loses everything and still owes money to the bank. This wasn't just Frank's story. Millions of people were buying stocks with borrowed money. When prices fell, everyone had to sell at the same time. This created a death spiral that lasted 10 years. The savings and loan crisis, 1980s. Meet Bob, a real estate developer in 1985. Interest rates are falling and banks are lending money to anyone. Bob gets a loan to build a shopping mall. The bank doesn't even check if the area needs another shopping mall. Bob's bank is called a savings and loan, or S&L. These banks used to be boring and safe. They took deposits and made home loans. But in the 1980s, the government let them make riskier investments. Bob's S&L starts making crazy loans. Office buildings that will never be occupied. Shopping malls in the middle of nowhere. Luxury condos nobody wants. The bank makes these loans because they earn higher interest rates. But most of these projects fail. Bob's shopping mall sits empty. He can't pay back his loan. His S&L goes bankrupt. The government has to bail out the S&L with taxpayer money. Over 1,000 S&Ls failed. The bailout cost taxpayers $124 billion. This crisis taught us that when you let banks take big risks with other people's money, taxpayers end up paying the bill. The dot-com bubble, 2000. Meet Lisa, a marketing manager in 1999. Everyone's talking about internet companies. Companies with no profits are worth billions of dollars. Lisa's friend quit his job to start a website that delivers pet food. He raised $10 million. Lisa starts investing in internet stocks. Amazon, Yahoo, Pets.com, Webvan. She doesn't understand what these companies do, but their stock prices keep going up. Lisa thinks the internet has changed everything and old rules don't apply. Lisa quits her job today, trade, internet stocks. She's making more money trading than she ever made working. She buys a new car and a bigger apartment. Lisa feels like she's living in the future. Then, March 2000 happens. Internet stocks start falling. Pets.com goes bankrupt. Webvan shuts down. Amazon falls from $106 to $6. Lisa loses everything. The dot-com crash wiped out $5 trillion in market value. Companies that were worth billions became worthless overnight. The lesson? Revenue and profits still matter, even on the internet. The housing crisis, 2008. Meet Carlos, a construction worker in 2005. Banks are giving mortgages to everyone. Carlos makes $30,000 a year, but qualifies for a $400,000 house. The bank says his income will go up and house prices never fall. Carlos buys the house with zero money down. His mortgage payment is $3,000 a month, but he only makes $2,500 after taxes. The bank says he can refinance in 2 years when the house is worth more. Carlos isn't alone. Millions of people are buying houses they can't afford, with loans they don't understand. Banks are making these loans and immediately selling them to Wall Street, so they don't care if people can pay them back. Wall Street packages these mortgages into complex securities and sells them to investors worldwide. Everyone thinks housing prices will keep rising forever. When they start falling, the entire global financial system nearly collapses. Carlos loses his house. The bank that gave him the loan goes bankrupt. The investment bank that bought his mortgage needs a government bailout. One bad loan becomes a global crisis. The pattern that connects them all. Every financial crisis follows the same 4-step pattern. First, there's a new opportunity that promises easy money. Tulips, South Sea trade, stocks, real estate, internet companies. Second, people start making money and tell their friends. FOMO kicks in, fear of missing out. Normal people who never invested before start putting their life savings into the hot new thing. Third, people start borrowing money to invest more. Leverage amplifies gains, but it also amplifies losses. When prices start falling, people who borrowed money get wiped out first. Fourth, panic selling begins. Everyone tries to sell at the same time. Prices collapse. People lose everything. The government usually has to step in to prevent total economic collapse. This pattern has repeated for 400 years. It will happen again because human psychology never changes. Greed and fear drive every bubble and every crash. The next crisis. So what's the next bubble? Cryptocurrency? Artificial intelligence stocks? Real estate again? Nobody knows for sure, but we can spot the warning signs. When your barber gives you investment advice, that's a warning sign. When people quit their jobs to day trade, that's a warning sign. When everyone says this time is different, that's the biggest warning sign of all. The people who survive financial crises are the ones who recognize the pattern. They don't get caught up in the excitement. They don't borrow money to invest. They keep some cash on the sidelines for when opportunities appear. Remember, every crisis creates opportunities for people who are prepared. While others are panicking and selling, smart money is buying quality assets at discount prices. The next financial crisis is coming. The question isn't if, it's when. And when it happens, will you be the person who loses everything chasing the bubble? Or will you be the person who profits from other people's panic? History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And the rhyme scheme of financial crises is always the same. Greed, leverage, panic, collapse. Learn the pattern and you'll never be surprised again. Because those who don't learn from financial history are doomed to repeat it. And those who do learn from it get to profit from everyone else's mistakes.